My name is Carlos, and for this presentation I have chosen to focus on general practice within the offshore wind sector. This presentation reviews ethics in the consenting process, focusing on Cunecca Italia's value-based framework. Further, ethics in the sector will be compared using two projects' community acceptance approaches. Moreover, the application of environmental standard and ISO 14001 will be discussed, both outlining how these contribute towards sustainable business excellence, providing EDP's example to managing environmental practices. As the world bolsters renewable energy production to fight climate change and reduce carbon emissions, wind power capacity is expected to increase tenfold. Nevertheless, the sector contributes towards emissions through the production of turbines and magnet-based technologies by their reliance on fossil fuels. Hence, environmental policies and modeling techniques are required to balance the sector's operational requirements and emissions, signifying increased cost and complexity to managing ethics. As electricity supply systems, components, network and wind farms need to be developed from scratch, the existing literature on ethics lacks sector-specific focus. Addressing this gap remains of high importance. Not only companies do what's morally right, but failing to do so can incur hefty costs. Addressing ethical issues through value can lead to purposeful energy systems design, because technical and institutional specifications are often formulated in value terms as displayed. Cunecca Italia outline a framework aligning technical, economic and moral values, serving to identify societal concerns at the planning stages. Hence, a bottom-up approach to ethics involving technical adaptations informed by societal values is recommended. Whilst Bettenhall's tagging project was initially portrayed as an innovative initiative, early 2018, the attitude of local inhabitants was polarized due to the project's drawbacks. However, it was the Swedish armed forces that deemed the wind farm too close to a nearby shooting range. Hence, the project was rejected due to a lack of transparency, which created moral grounds on procedural justice. By 2022, Sweden centralized consenting processes to allow a national examination process. Ultimately, the governance process fate was sealed by normative reasons, deeming Bettenhall's long-standing investments to decarbonize energy insufficient reasons for acceptance. For this case, a thorough implementation of key and stakeholder consultation framework could have served to provide focus. Ripple, a Scottish initiative, made the headlines for its inclusive business model. The company allows the buying of shares, with customers owning large-scale energy assets and receiving direct supply of electricity. Whilst it might not seem like a clear comparison at first, as in on Bettenhall's example, wind farm projects do not result in added benefits for local communities. Therefore, a perfect example of efficient versus ethical stakeholder management was set. The growing awareness and increasing stakeholder pressure on sustainable business practices requires firms to focus on mitigating and managing the harmful effects of offshore wind operations on the environment. Whereas international agreements and different countries strive to achieve net zero, the impact assessment legislations across countries vary in terms of their transparency. Beyond legislative gaps, the increasing cost of environmental protection and growing awareness of climate highlight the importance of adopting environmental management systems like ISO 14001. ISO 14001 is an international standard setting out the requirements for environmental management systems, thus serving to improve environmental performance through the efficient use of resources by identifying, managing, monitoring and controlling environmental issues in organizations. While several benefits are linked from implementing ISO, some drawbacks are to be considered. Firstly, the available frameworks of ISO implementation may be too simplistic for the sector, where specific business functions must interplay to reduce environmental impact. Secondly, ISO 14001 has been regarded as not entirely connected to environmental performance, since certified companies can still have substandard processes. Moreover, ISO is a costly, documentation-heavy process requiring several steps, with a narrow cost-benefit trade-off margin. Nevertheless, achieving ISO certification provides a greater impact on environmental performance by promoting awareness, systematic documentation, and communication of environmental activities, as seen in our next example. Operating in 13 countries, EDP does not only comply with ISO 14001 standards, but also the United Nations 2030 SDG agenda, supporting supply chain compliance with internal policies such as the Sustainable Procurement Policy. EDP's strategic priorities include commitments to protect the environment, like striving for organizational net zero by 2025, promoting a circular economy, and protecting the biodiversity through no net loss as shown. Not only does EDP ensure compliance with ISO, but it also incorporates and publishes environmental KPIs to its performance metrics to ensure transparency, thus role modeling environmental management. To wrap up, interdisciplinary efforts and capital investments are required to reduce environmental impacts of the sector. However, the role of ethics and transparency play a crucial role in driving community acceptance and legitimizing environmental management. Moreover, the integration of ISO 14001 as exemplified by EDP facilitates a systematic approach to driving environmental sustainability. However, whilst accreditation facilitates a framework for managing environmental standards, a business ethical principles serve as key drivers for achieving sustainable business excellence.